make some fun dried flower embellishments for our journal. Welcome, this is Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So this is very much inspired by a video I have seen from Nina Rabina, which I have linked down below, where she adds dried flowers to various pieces. She uses domino pieces, and she also uses these, what are they called, Scrabble pieces. Although mine are not Scrabble pieces, mine are actually called craft letters. I found these at a Dutch chain we have here in Europe called Action. So those will be fun to play with. And I also want to try it on the back sides of these milk, I don't know what you call them, milk tabs. They are vintage. They were, I guess, the tops of milk bottles. I got these from Instagram. So I thought on the back sides we could do that, and then we could still preserve this beautiful front side. So let's get started. Oh, and I have these flowers are from one of the Your Creative Studio boxes. I believe it might have been the April box, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously you can make your own dried flowers. You can just, at the moment, since it's summer, you can just pick them wherever on your walk, or you can also order them online. I'm sure you can find them. So there's lots of options, but if you have a garden or if you like going on walks, even in the city, you can find these. I think we can all access these pretty easily. If you have neither the milk bottle caps nor the little Scrabble pieces nor any wood chip pieces, whatever, then another thing you can do is you can use your punches. So for example, I have these here, or these would also be really cool. And what I thought you can do, I'll just show you with the circle punch. So I have here a cardstock which is double-sided, and you could just punch a few of these out. I would do at least 3 to make it sturdy. Or, well, the reason why I'm not using like thicker cardboard is because the punch won't work on it. But if you have a die cut machine with circle shapes or square shapes or any kind of shape really, you can do it with your die cut machine. But if you don't, if all you have is a circle, or if you don't have even have a circle punch, but you have a glass or something round that you could trace around, then you could of course just glue these together to make a nice sturdy base. I think 3 is plenty. And once you've glued them together, you do the same as I've done with the bottle caps. With that, actually, if you use some nice cardstock, you don't even have to paint the back side. So that's a huge plus. You could just ink up, if you want the vintage look, you just ink up this side. And on the other side, depending on what your cardstock is, either you just use it as it is and put a flower on there, or if you don't have any that you like, which is very unlikely because we all have way too much cardstock. But if that's the case, okay, then you can still paint it, or you could put something else on it. You could maybe even put a few coats of Distress Oxide on it, or I don't know, be creative, you can find a way. And then you just continue with the same process. So there's no excuse not to do this. So I'm going to start off by sanding down some of these, because maybe you can see they have quite rough edges. So I'll do a couple of these, and I'm using my sanding block that I got at a hardware store, but of course this works really well also with just a nail file. So I've sanded down 5 of these, and as you can see, I've also sanded down the letters pretty much, because I will be adding some acrylic paint on top, but I'm going to add a light shade, so I didn't want those coming through. And I realized after I've done 2 of them, it would make sense to pick letters that you won't use as often, because I do want to use these as well in other projects with the numbers. So you probably shouldn't use letters that you would use more often to spell things. So then I realized I should probably choose like the X and the Z. Yeah. And yeah, so I have my my milk bottle caps, and I will now paint everything, and I'm gonna just use one color for everything. I'm gonna use my buff titanium because it is a nice light neutral color, and that happened the last time too. I mean, it's fun to have different colors as well, but for some reason I just want this one neutral tone now. And yeah, on these I'm actually just going to paint the back because I want the beautiful front to stay as it is. We'll see, maybe they need 2 coats. And these little pieces I'm going to paint all around, because when the back side is just going to be just have the titanium buff on it, and the front will have the dried flower on it. I have added 2 coats to all the pieces in the meantime, so this is what it looks like. These are the little tiles. I now will choose which flowers will go on which piece, and then I will cover the piece first with some matte Mod Podge. Nina waters down the Mod Podge. I think she uses 3 parts Mod Podge and 1 part water. I'm not gonna bother with that. I'm sure she has a reason. I'm sure there's a good reason, but I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm just gonna use straight Mod Podge and see how that goes. So I will start choosing some of these flowers. I am just snipping off these stems that are too long. I don't like this blue one because unfortunately I cut off, the stem came off too much, so that doesn't look great anymore. So instead I will try to cut off a piece of this orange. Yep, that is better. And I'm thinking these here actually have some space for maybe a word. So let me see if I can find any words that would be small enough for those. So I found these words in my stash. They, I think, are also from Action from probably a year ago. You can use any kind of word stickers you have, or you can even write something by hand, or you could stamp some words as well, of course. So I think this will be fun to find some words that will fit, but I won't actually put them on before I'll put the Mod Podge on. And another thing you could do, if you have pieces that are bigger like this, you could even add like a washi strip or something. That would be cute as well. So I will remove the flowers now and add the Mod Podge. Then I will add the flower before that's completely dry. And then I'll add my word. Maybe I'll zoom you in a little bit. So why don't we add the word happy to this one, I will distress the edges, which I actually should have done here before I put the Mod Podge on. I will see if that will still work afterwards. This one I can still do that. So we'll put happy. That, and then we'll add another coat of Mod Podge. And this time I'm going to be very careful to just dab the flowers very gently so that they don't fall apart, which would be typical for me. And then later we will also be adding some crackle accents. Nina uses some, she shows a lot of examples of different kinds of dimensional glues you can use. I don't have any of those, so I'm using what I have, which is the crackle accents, which is the closest to a dimensional glue that I have. So I will let that dry, and I'll add the distressing on this now. Then I'll add my Mod Podge. Then the flower. And now I choose another word. We could add creativity, that would be nice. Again, I will ink that. And I'll put that right in the middle. Like that, and then we'll put our second coat of Mod Podge. Very, very gently go over the flowers. Okay, then I will add the Mod Podge to all of these and then let them dry, and then I'll be back. It's about 15 minutes later, and as you can see, I have also added some words to the smaller ones, which I think are really cute. I just left one as it is. And as you can see, the Mod Podge is fairly dry, not completely yet, but I think it's dry enough around the flowers so that I can now ink them all up with my vintage photo. As you see, the one I had inked up before, you can still see it a little bit, but it's not as dark as I want it to be. So I will just go around this again, and you see it makes a big difference. If you want the vintage look, then that's the way to go. And I will do the same thing, of course, with the small ones. And here I will also make sure that I get the sides inked. And with the small ones, I'm actually also inking up the edges of the back side, just because I think it looks nicer like that. So this is what they all look like once they've been inked. And then the next step will be to add my crackle accents. I will link this down below as well. I'm very curious what this will look like, and I'm guessing I will have to put more than one layer. So I'm just going to gently try to cover the whole tile. And I'm not very practiced at this at all. I'm new to crackle accents. But it's actually quite easy. I think you should make sure to get it as even as you can around the edges and up into the corners, to not leave those out. Maybe one will be enough if I put enough of it. That might work. You don't want any air bubbles in there. This is looking good. Yeah, one coat should definitely be enough. Let me see if I can lift this so you can see what it looks like now. Not really, right? Well, it's completely covered. And so I will do the same thing for all of these bits, and then we'll be back once that has dried. Quick update, it's more than 2 hours later, and these small ones look like they're done. And I have to say, I'm not very happy with this, what is it called? Crackle accents. Because look what it does, and it did the same thing when I tried them before. It just looks like somebody stuck something sharp in the middle, like this, and then the whole thing just cracked once. And I guess that's how crackle accents work. But I would have hoped that it would crack more or less evenly around and not look like it was hit in one place and then just cracked from there, because that just looks like the pieces are broken to me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I have different expectations of crackle accents, but maybe that's just me. So this is the rest of my broken pieces. I mean, I'm not gonna throw them out, I'll still use them, but it's not really what I was going for. And then you see here the two big ones. So this one is in the middle of drying. You can see it's starting to crack from the outside in, and that will have that same beautiful effect as with the small ones. And this one, as you can see, looks beautiful at the moment, which is because I managed to put my finger in the middle of it. Yep, that's how I roll. And so to fix that, I just put another coat of crackle accents on it, which is why it doesn't have the cracks on the outside yet, but I'm sure it will get them as well. So I think I might have to wait like another 8 hours or so until this is done, until I can work with them some more. Let's let the two big ones do their thing, and in the meantime we can maybe finish up these broken little 5 pieces. And what Nina does in her video, she has these great little hooks that she can screw into the little pieces, but I don't have those and I didn't want to go and buy them. So I was looking at home for alternative solutions, and I found these pieces here, which are hooks that you can glue onto some picture frames and then put on your wall. And I thought, well, these should work, right? Why not? Obviously, they are way too big. That would look kind of weird, huh? So I'm thinking, why don't I just trace, make sure this is centered where the hook is. And then I will just trace around it and I will cut that. And now you see that it was completely useless to paint the back side because this is going to go over it anyway. And I can't see my line. This is just going so well. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Okay, this is way too big. I will just make it smaller. It depends how you want to glue the hook. Do I want it showing that white piece on top, or do I want to hide that? What do you say? I think I want to hide it. So I think I just need to cut this side a tiny bit. And then let's glue this on. All right, so we have our little hook there. This is the back. And I think we need to ink up the back, don't we? There, that's better. So I've put the hook on 2 of them now, and I just thought before I put the hook on all of these, ta-da, I need to use my copper gilding wax. and see how that would look if I put it around the edge, because at this point it's already not what I want them to be. So if this is not a good idea, it's okay, because they're messed up anyway. And by the way, one viewer told me, and I would like to pass this tip on because it is a very valid tip, that you probably shouldn't dip your finger in here directly, because you could put bacteria in there and contaminate the whole jar. Well, for me it's too late, I've already done that. But if you buy this new and you haven't used it, it might be a good idea to actually take a bit out, put it somewhere else, and then dab your finger in that. Very valid point. But yeah, as I said, for me it's too late. I'm just gonna continue like this. So let's see what this does if we edge these. I'm not even putting it like on the whole surface, and I don't think it will actually stay on the, well, maybe it will actually, on the crackle accents. So there's what that looks like. That's actually quite cool. And on the sides it's like this. Yeah, so I will do that with these three. Let them dry for a couple of minutes, and then I will also attach the hooks like I did with the other two. Got all my hooks on, as you can see, and now the question is, how do we actually use them in our journal? So my idea with this was to use them as a dangle for the journal spine. So this is a journal of mine from last year, 2019. As you can see, it is huge. And I made this from a vintage children's book, and I made a spine which is really wide. I'm guessing it's about 2.5 inches. And as you can see here, I have decorated the spine with lots of cute charms. And I've done this actually with the signatures are done with a no sew binding method, which I found on Johanna Cloth's channel. And I love having dangles on my spine. It's just so much fun. I love the noise they make. And so I thought these little charms could be like those charms. Why not? So let's see how we could attach these. I mean, actually that would be very simple, because I did leave a little bit of twine on each of these, so I could add more charms if I wanted to. So why don't we do that? This is the perfect opportunity. So here's one, for example, that I could do. Let me put you more in the middle. There, so I have a loose end here, and we could use a purple one, which would fit nicely to this purple spine. And I just see where, like which height I want to have it in, and I'll have it more towards the bottom. And then I just make a double knot around the hook. Okay, this is too short. It's too fiddly now. I could do it, but it would take too long right now. So that's what that would look like on the spine. Maybe it's a little too far down, but you get the idea. It could be a spine charm dangle thingy. Another thing we could do with these is add them to a tag if you're not worried about bulk. So for example, I have been working on this spread here for my last junk journal with me videos. And then, for example, I have this beautiful Happy Mail tag, and purple and yellow are perfect together. So if I take the love one, for example, we can attach that. So we could either attach it just with a very simple, like a kind of a packaging twine thing, which would be really cute. We could of course use a fun, like a baker's twine thing, like the yellow one I think would be really nice here as well. We could go more fancy and use even a sari silk, which would be really nice as well. Let's try the green. Let's see how that would look. So how would I do this? I would thread this through the charm and the hole in the tag. And then I would probably just make a bow. Something like that. I think that's really cute. But I'm sure, because you guys are all so creative, I'm sure you can come up with other ways to use these. I think they're adorable. Whether they're cracked or not, they're still cute. So I would love to know what you guys come up with, or whether you've done something like this. Maybe you already have used them in other projects. Maybe you can write in the comments below what you have done with them. So there we go. Last update for today. I first of all decided to change the ribbon on this one because the other one was just too bulky. So this is with the simple like packaging type twine or yarn. So I think this is really cute. So that goes in my little pocket for my journal page. And then these two are the round ones. So it's now maybe 5 to 6 hours later. So this one, which you remember I had the double layer. So this one decided to get a hole in the middle. Do you see that? Like what? It was completely covered. I don't know how, I mean, through, obviously through the crackling process, it decided to just pull all the liquid from that spot. Very interesting. So what I will do is I will try to fill that up once more, a third time. And this one worked out really well. So that has crackled in a way where I'm like, okay, that's all right. I can live with that. I've inked up the edges as well. But what I did, and the funny thing is I actually wanted to mention this in the video to take care that this doesn't happen to you. And yep, it happened to me. So when you turn this around, look at that, it's the wrong way around. So yeah, so now when we hang it on something, it's going to be the wrong way around. So I will try to put a hole in the top here because this is our more prominent side, and unfortunately this will be upside down, but what can I do? So I'm going to attempt with my crocodile to put a hole through this. I'm using the smaller of the two holes. Let's see if the crocodile can actually do this. Oh, it can easily. Look at that. That's just awesome. Okay, the crocodile is just such an amazing tool. One of my best purchases ever. So why don't we just put some twine through it, because that's fun. So maybe we just do this, and we put the two ends through it. And there we go. We have a beautiful cracked charm, which is upside down on the back side. But I still think it's quite cute, actually. Not sure yet where I'm gonna put this, but it's special. I really do think it's special. One thing you have to be aware of, I don't know if it will bother you, it doesn't bother me, is that, for example, you see here the color has bled out because of the liquid that we added. So I don't mind, I think it looks actually pretty cool, but if that does bother you, then just be aware that that could happen. I don't know if these flowers were colored artificially in any way. I don't know if this happens to the flowers that you pick in your garden. Maybe you can let us know in the comments below if you have any experience with that. I would be interested. So yeah, I hope this was useful in some way. I hope it inspired you to experiment on your own. and hope to see you back in the next one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been lovely as always. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.